Take another photograph and document a life that's right. And ways consist of simple things, the days of black and white. And faces from a humble past at one with the ground, the sound. And bring me back.
Welcome back to Talkin Guff podcast, you scurvy scoundrels. We got an extra subscriber, up to 57, yo. That's because I'll be banging out them shorts. How's it going? I know we said we talk that the next episode, i.e. this episode, in the last episode we said the next episode, which is now this episode, would be about the Queen's death and associated tidbits with regards to the royal family, the monarchy, but however it's not going to be that, because she's not going anywhere, and there's a few other bits I wanted to get off my chest or have a chat about before, like, that are going to go somewhere, so I'd rather just let her rest in peace for another little bit. We'll dig her up and have a chat about her next week, and right now we'll talk about some other shit. Is that too much? Was that too much? I seen a lad on Instagram, Auld Stock, just came up in a reel or something, and Damien Brown is his name, and he's a fucking machine of a lad, a beast of a human being. He rode from New York City to Galway Bay there, and he started out with him and another lad, and then around 2 weeks in, I think day 13, something happened to the other lad, and I only know this from watching his Instagram clips. And he does a podcast called Deep Roots, where I think he goes into these experiences in more depth. But basically, at 13 days, his mate had to fuck off. Something happened to him. They had to put him on a Singaporean freight ship headed for New York City. He's safe and sound now. But your man rode for 113 days in this mad-looking rowboat with a tiny little cabin in it. And he's like in the cabin getting fucking capsized and everything. Not a bother on him. And on his own, doing a fucking podcast and everything with a satellite thing in one hand and his phone in the other. Powerful human being, big up to him. Damien Brown, Auld Stock on Instagram, check him out, man. Fucking like, when you see a human being do an amazing thing, and you go, fucking hell, man, that person's tuned into what it's all about. I just want that. They're inspiring, basically, is the point I'm trying to make. This guy is up there, man. Check him out. Auld Stock, Damien Brown. I went to my 20-year school reunion, and I know you might be thinking to yourself, hold on a minute, Ruben, you couldn't be out of school 20 years. You look like you're only 26. But no, I'm 38, and I'm staring down the barrel of 40, yo. And I went to my school reunion, and like I wrote great laugh, and then I put a question mark, because it was a great laugh. But like when I first went, first of all I went with a friend, or like a lad, and I don't like saying people's names on the podcast, because then they go, here, what are you talking about, you know what I mean? And so a fiend that I knew from back in the Dizzo, who I would see around Brave from time to time, lovely fella, he was like, here, do you want to get the dart in? Boom, went in, we got into the pretty kitchen, they opened the doors, and I'd smoked a joint and everything, and I was just like going, oh my god, is this a bad idea? And so it was palpable at times, and a strange roller coaster of anxiety and euphoria. So it was great. It was really good to reconnect with people, and I'm going to make a real effort to reconnect with people that I went to school with, because I sort of just drifted off, you know what I mean? And they're sound heads, lovely people. But I tell you, right, when I went to school, there was a lad, and like, or maybe I won't go so far. I've definitely said, like, he was a pedo, basically, is what I'm trying to say. But definitely, like, that might be a bit heavy-handed, but definitely, like, a really inappropriate character who wouldn't be allowed in a school today. No way. And I'm not going to say his name either, but he had a strange sort of pseudo-American mixed with like South County Dublin drawl of an accent. It's like, yeah, well, Mr. Pouch, what are we up to? Huh? And that's not even right. But he had a strange sort of drawl to him, and he was a sort of greasy, grotty looking character, and he would wear shorts that were not flattering, but like, you know, and he would say inappropriate things, even to, like, you're talking to kids, like, where you'd be like, you're really filling out those swimsuits, ladies, and, you know, to 14 and 15-year-old girls. And I remember one time, I had no shorts to go swimming for PE, and I was like, I don't have any shorts. He's like, I'll give you a pair of swim pants. And he gave me these, like, I was only 14 or something, Speedos. And I was like, I'm not wearing these. I'm not doing swimming, mate. You can forget about it. Because, like, my balls were hanging out and all. And I was more thinking that I would be embarrassed for the girl, like, you know, that the girls would see my balls, and I was overweight and all, so I was mad conscious at the time anyway, and so I'm not fucking throwing petrol on the fire with my balls hanging out of a man's big fat man Speedo. No thanks. And I got detention for that, and retrospectively, even that he would, like, because I remember having to go into him and all, going, these don't fit, man, I'm not wearing these. And even that is inappropriate potentially. And here's the other thing is, there was a one-way mirror. There was like an office, right? And there was a one-way mirror looking into the boys' changing rooms and the girls' changing rooms. And the thing about it is that that's actually maybe slightly even more strange and insidious, because where I went to school, there was a massive proper swimming pool, but it was a centre in and of itself. You know what I mean? So it wasn't. It worked. It was independent from the school, but was on the school grounds, and I suppose by default the school got to use it. But there was also other swimming shit happened there, like swimming training and shit like that. And that was in that part. So like I say, that's independent from the school, so you can't blame the school for having one-way mirrors. But, you know, because, you know, the swim teacher things, looking back now, you're just like, fucking hell, actually. But like I said, maybe, like, I've never actually heard of him, like, sexually assault anyone or anything like that, but definitely an inappropriate character. And the sort of, the culmination of that inappropriateness was this poem. And I had forgotten about the poem. And this teacher wasn't at the, because he was always the first year head teacher as well. Because there was about 100, and there'd be like 3 or 4 classes in each year. And then they would have a head teacher, but there would be a head teacher of the whole year. And he was always for the first years. Wonder why. And he read this poem. Sorry, I was just checking something. He wasn't there. He wrote this poem about our year, and it was read for definite at the end of year assembly for when we were in 6th year or whatever. And the poem was read out at the reunion by another teacher. That teacher wouldn't come, but he insisted that this teacher read out the poem, and it was fucking like at 38 years of age with a kid in the school system, and like the sort of wisdom of whatever. Just when I listened to this poem, man, fuck me, it was inappropriate. Like, on 2 levels. He was talking about the sexual endeavours from time to time, because basically what the thing was is like it was a poem about the whole year. Nearly everyone in the year was referenced in some way in the poem, and he was referencing and sort of like, you know, alluding to the sexual endeavours of teenage kids within the years, things that had happened, and that's fucking totally inappropriate. But then even on a sort of more subtle or nuanced level, it was like he knew fucking everything about, like, what was, you know, stuff that only people in the year would know. This man in his 40s knew, and he was sort of writing this strange innuendoed poem, and it's just like, even for him to know even the sort of like innocuous but still like personal or unique details of like stuff that had happened at parties and all, that's weird, no? And so, and everyone was just like, oh my God, you know, everyone was just like, this poem is totally fucked up, man. And surely it's not a thing that, that would happen today. And one of the girls went over to the teacher who read it out afterwards just to say, oh, look, yeah, blah, blah. And he was like, Jesus Christ, I really felt uncomfortable reading that poem. Which I thought was really interesting. And another teacher, female teacher who was there, was like, telling me about it. At the time, that I just considered that to be the most inappropriate thing I'd ever heard. And I reported it to somebody. And I was like, wow, that's fucking out there. Isn't it? Different time, man. There's no way this lad would be teaching in school today. Like, if you were a teacher if you had a kid in the school with this lad, you'd be like, hold on a minute. Who the fuck brought Gary Glitter in a Speedo in? What's he doing here? But then, and this is going to bring down the mood a little bit potentially. This is heavy shit. This is hardcore shit, man. He also, where I went to school was on the end, it was on an avenue, the front of the grounds was on an avenue there in Blackrock, Newtown Park Avenue. And on either end of the grounds, on the avenue side, there would have been two old gate lodges. And one of them on down this end was, it was a rugby changing room. And I think, because then I think maybe when we were in first or second year, they had knocked that one down and built a proper rugby change room. But then the one on the other end of the grounds, like on the avenue side, was deemed to be a prefect room. It was given to prefects, sixth-year prefects, to have their lunch there, do their study there, free periods there, etc., hold meetings, whatever the fuck, etc., etc. And when I was there in sixth year, I got voted prefect, and the school wouldn't let me be one. Actually, there's a little tidbit for you. They were just like, "No, not happening, Ruben." I was like, "What the fuck, man?" They made me spend the first 3 months of sixth year in the library on my own, and I wasn't allowed to be prefect just because I failed my fifth year bullshit like mock exams or whatever. But anyway, that was just a side note. Fuck you, Miss Harris. Oh yeah, when the year that I was in sixth year, 2002, it was burnt down. The prefect room was burnt down, and it was never sort of known who did it, to my understanding. And that was referenced in the poem as well. And I was standing beside a girl, and I had the best crack with the girls, actually, I have to say. I was standing beside this Matzo, and again, I just don't want to say her name because she might be like, I don't want to be associated with your podcast, Ruben. But I was like, oh yeah, whatever happened to who do we know who burnt down the prefect room? And she was like, yeah, it was such and such. And I was like, oh wow. And before I tell you what she said next, such and such was this like real quiet, and totally out of respect for the situation, I'm not going to say his name whatsoever. Really quiet, really lovely, soft guy, a virtuoso musician on a few instruments, like. But really introverted, really obviously sensitive. But like I said, when you talk to him, and I did talk to him a bit, he was fucking really lovely guy. And so that's such and such. And so who burnt down the prefect room? It was such and such. No way. Where the fuck is he actually? Turns out that he had a really rough time from a mental health perspective after school, and sometime 6 or so years ago, killed his own mum in a melee over like he had a psychotic episode, I suppose. And I was just like, this is what this girl said to me. I was like, are you fucking joking me? And she was like, no, not at all. And I've looked, obviously I know it to be true now, and I was just like, my mind was blown, honestly, and I can't stop thinking about that guy. And it's just so fucking tragic, man, isn't it? Like, that's a load of lives been ruined. Obviously, like, he killed his mum and she's dead, like, and then imagine the weight of that. And he was paranoid schizophrenic, to my understanding, and then but the weight of that, man, must just be fucking crushing, a crushing load to carry. And my heart goes out to that whole situation. And he has sisters as well, one of whom I definitely know, and the other of which was a witness to the situation. And that's just like a whole load of, like, at least 3 lives totally fucked, man. Obviously one totally. And then so that was I was so shocked, and it was not anything you'd expect to hear. It just seemed like something out of a movie, and maybe it's totally inappropriate of me even to discuss it here on the podcast, but what can I say? That's what I do. Is it? Does anyone think? I'm not trying to be disrespectful in any way. It was just like, just the surrealness of it was mind blowing, and and still find it like a week and a bit later totally surreal, man. I was also talking to a girl who I would have had like unrequited love issues with in 5th and 6th year. I was the king of that shit back in the Dizzo. But really lovely girl, beautiful, intelligent, and she's sound, really lovely girl, or woman, should I say. And but we were having, because she's like, you know, politically minded like myself, and definitely like you know, left, ultra left, but we were having a good old chat about this, a very varied or dynamic conversation about X, Y, and Z, and a myriad of like social issues and potential problems within those social dynamics or whatever. And at some point, like, it was just like, and she was looking at me like with this sort of slightly patronizing, like, wounded look, like, oh, Ruben, poor Ruben, you don't know, you don't understand. And then she did actually say, like, but Ruben, like, you're a white European male, like, you're just so privileged in this situation. And I understand, and more privileged, should I say, than her. And I just was like, but really, like, because I understand that I have Western privilege, and I'm pretty sure that I communicate or say often enough on the podcast here that I'm fucking blessed, man. Totally blessed. But that doesn't necessarily mean that I feel privileged relative to my environment or my Western society. Like, I certainly don't in that regard. Do you understand what I'm getting at? And so I'm sort of saying to her, well, like, you know, I don't feel like, outside of my obvious privilege that you too enjoy, like, you were brought up in the most affluent suburb in Ireland probably, and that's no joke, like, in a 3-story house. I'm not saying she was necessarily loaded, but it's just like, you know, you've got a good job, you've always had a good job because you're smart and all, and so, but I don't really see, like, you know, if you think I'm so privileged, come walk a fucking mile in my shoes. Like, I've done some of the shittest jobs for a good period of time. Like, I've worked on, I laboured for bricklayers. I was a bricklayer myself, and I've worked now in kitchens for years and all. Like, I'm not saying they're shit jobs, but they're tough jobs and they're hard jobs, and you know what I'm saying? I just was like, there are ways in which I gain from the social construct and you don't, and vice fucking versa. Like, and but when you flatline it, I don't feel outside of our own Western privilege that you're like any more privileged than me, or, you know, or I am any more privileged than you, should I say. It just seems like, and again, it's just that, like, you're white male, European, alright, conversation over. I don't understand, obviously, what it's like to be a white European woman. Like, you know what I mean, well-to-do human being, you know what I mean? But conversation's over then at that stage. But I couldn't help feeling, like, I was just like, there's some sort of victim syndrome almost going on in here, because it was just like, you know, everything I say, it's just like, yeah, you know, it's terrible for me, and and there's other parameters that I don't really want to get into, so it's potentially a bit ambiguous what I'm saying, but you know, I just was like, like, look around you. You're doing all right for yourself, and so am I. And so, in that regard, I understand that I'm blessed. But again, and I'll touch on it more in a little while. Do I feel privileged relative to my environment? And, like, we'll talk about this more in a second, but just to say, even, like, the situation in Iran is like, is she as denied of privileges as the women in Iran are, for instance? And, because I wonder to myself, does she look at that situation and go, yeah, it's so hard for us women? You know what I mean? Because that's totally disconnected. You're like, hold on a fucking minute. And, like, they're going, that's fucking real, like, dangerous fucking shit for women, patriarch shit, and that's not happening here to you in fucking your, like, leafy, affluent fucking South Dublin suburb. Come on, like, be real. Or is that, you know what I mean? And then, like, it'd be like me going to looking at kids in Gaza getting shot and all, going, oh, but sure, when we were young, we didn't even have a telephone. Like, what fucking planet would I be on to be going on like that? And this, I'm only being hypothetical. She mightn't think that when she looks at it, but you know what I mean? There definitely are women out there that's like, going, yeah, it's terrible for women. It's like, no, it's fucking terrible for those women. Awful. And like to just say it is, like, I mean, just to, like and because here's the other thing, it's just like the idea that a young, beautiful, like, and not that makes her any more validated or whatever, but you know what I mean? Just like this young, beautiful woman who's got it all ahead of her, and she doesn't have it on, like. She has it on, even. She doesn't have it on, like, too much hair or something. They pretty much beat her to death. You're just like, I don't know any man who's just like, yeah, fucking proper order. You know what I mean? It's like, that is fucking awful, and it makes, I'm sure, well, I won't speak for any other man, but I speak for myself and what my peers, what I believe my peers to feel with regard to this situation, and just be like, that is fucking shocking. That shit is fucking awful, and no one is condoning that. You know what I mean? Apparently, though, like, they've been having a history of revolt in Iran, because here's the other thing, it's like, it's not just women protesting the situation over in Iran. Apparently, as far as I understand, in the 70s, Iran was like a real fucking liberal, like Iraq as well, like real fucking westernized people, women walking around in jeans and shit like that, and real fucking, like, cultural and hippie-ish almost, and hippies would go over to places like Syria and fucking Iraq and Iran, and then I've seen footage of definitely of Iraq and Syria. It fucking looks amazing. And then somewhere along the way it turned into this fucking, caliphate shit, and that's Saudi Arabia and the Americans basically. But there's this history, and I think that is this Islamic I can't remember what they're called, but it became an Islamic state in 1979, and as far as I understand, and potentially I'm being a bit heavy-handed here, well, no, I'm pretty sure there have been like nearly a revolt every year in the last 10 years or something like that. The last decade has been totally fraught with revolts and revolution that have been savagely and brutally put down, and they staged a fucking internet blackout in the whole of Iran for something like 7 days, something mental like that. And I know you're thinking, what does that matter? But like, think of how much stuff is actually like dependent on internet, just like infrastructurally, from an infrastructure perspective even, and it was just like total chaos. That no one has ever done that. But yeah, I mean, what is happening there, obviously, and what's been highlighted by that young woman being killed there is fucking deplorable shit. And hopefully, it looks like, or well, it would be great if they could actually fucking get rid of the fucking supreme leader, what's his name, and see he was on they were giving, this is fucking deadly shit, right? He was giving a speech on national television, the syndicated fucking authoritarian channel or whatever the fuck, RTE, and it just cut out, and this fucking mad, like, sort of, almost like, what are they called, the hacker fiends? But it was sort of like fucking cyber madness, and it was like, whatever, I'll put it here, pop. Hopefully. But if fucking was cool, they just totally interrupted, hacked into the live broadcast, and were just saying, promoting the cause. I can't remember exactly what the tagline is, so excuse me. But obviously that's a fucking hardcore, deplorable situation, and hopefully they get to fucking get rid of fucking anyone who's supreme leader. It's just like, nah, bro, you have to go. So hopefully they get rid of that fiend and have a shot at democracy. But I'm pretty sure that it was America who totally were just like, you want to do what? Back in the 50s when they first were looking at a proper democracy and were just like, get the fuck out of it. You're not having that. You're yours. Speaking of an awful situation, obviously the Russia-Ukraine conflict looks like it's like the bombing of the bridge, and then like the bombing, or first of all there was the bombing of the Nord Stream pipeline, and then there's the bombing of the bridge on the Kerch Strait or whatever it is between Crimea and Russia, and then there's the fucking retaliatory efforts of Vladislav fucking Putin, or Vladimirovich Putin, and like that. When you look at that, it's just like this shit is getting out of hand now, and and because it's getting obviously hella dirty, like, and obviously war is hell, and it's really dirty. It's dirty shit, like, it's horrible shit. But then, like, do you remember a while ago there was a car bomb went off in Moscow about 2 months ago maybe, and it killed some dignitary and his daughter or niece or something like that. And that was like if that happened, if the Muslims did that, if any Muslim country that's being exploited now or has been for the last 20 years or whatever, if they did that, that'd be terrorism, right? And then someone blew up the bridge to Crimea, and like, I watched the footage, like, and cars are going along, and so people, I'd say only 3 people died, but it's just like, it's fucking pretty hardcore. It's like a boom, and no one actually claimed that. Like, that's just some fucking ambiguous, like, that would be called, in any other circumstance, I suppose. What I'm trying to say is that would be called a terrorist attack. Like, you know what I mean? And then the Nord Stream pipeline things, like, someone blew that up, and no one knows who did it, and you don't know, like, for whatever reason, to escalate, or like, it could be Putin himself blowing this shit up, going, because then I'm gonna just fucking lamp Kiev out of it and all the cities, and like, and that's what he's done. He's been fucking. This is probably the most whatever they've done, the most heavy bombing of the major cities that they've done since the start of the campaign. Definitely they haven't done it to Kiev yet. And so, yeah, like, it looks like it's getting out of fucking hand, alright. And I'm wondering, like, does it look like maybe Putin might be losing favour, and there could be a motherfucking coup d'etat over there or something like that. And because I was talking with my brother Neil, who, like, works in the geopolitical sphere or whatever you would say, and I was just saying, you know, because I was stressing to him about this, like, just nuclear shit all the time you hear, and he was like, yeah, you never know, but he doesn't think it'll be a thing. But they do have, like, say if, like, they have they call them tactical nukes that can just, like, wipe out a city, and that, like, it potentially might happen. And I was like, and then what? If he just, like, goes, right, I'm just gonna boom, get rid of Kiev, gone, and you can't go near it, it's a fucking radioactive zone, then surely that's, like, the stepping stone to our own demise. But who knows? Watch that space, and can you believe anything that you see, you know, on either sides of the coin? Obviously, like, there's fucking hardcore propaganda happening in Russia, and I don't think you can believe that. And then there's a less obvious, but it seems that's how there seems to be a less obvious, but just as intense propaganda drive in Western society as well, through mainstream media and stuff like this. And that's not to say all of it, but I feel some of it. And so it's hard to really know or quantify what the fuck is going on. But I suppose what we do know is that, like, people are definitely getting killed, and people are definitely making money from it, and isn't it a load of bollocks? And so isn't it just a shame, like, that it's not like at a party or something, you know what I mean? Because like, if you were at a party and some fiend starts fucking going off the deep end, you'd be like, here, bro, chill the fuck out, we're gonna try you out, like, calm down, you know what I'm saying? We're having a party here, it's fucking beautiful planet Earth, get with the program. But I don't even know what I'm talking about here. Oh yeah, so this is maybe a pretty loaded statement, but I invented trolling. I am confident that I invented internet trolling. And I'll tell you what inspired me to become an internet troller. And I was, like, I'm talking maybe 15 years ago. What year is it now? Yeah, maybe 14, 13 years ago. I just used to see a profile out, and this was when there was only Facebook. And there was a profile used to keep going around on Facebook, and it was Fatchy Nolan was the name, even the name. Fatchy Nolan, right, was the name. And whatever the bio was, it was fucking really funny. And the photo was the funniest, like, head I'd ever seen. It was Fatchy Nolan. The whole thing was perfect, right? And it was really funny, and it was, and you know, it was nothing. It was just likes and interest and blah blah blah. Just got out of the joy, lads, or something like that. It was really funny, and it sort of blew my mind a little bit, because I was like, oh right, you can just do that. You could just make up, because that couldn't be a real person. So you just make shit up and do that, like, you know. And I was speaking then to another individual at the time, and they were like, have you seen this Fatty Nolan lad? And I was like, yeah. I was thinking I was going to make up or whatever. I can't remember which one said it, but we both were like, yeah, let's make up fake Facebook accounts and basically harass the shit out of people. And that's what we used to do. And we're like, Graham Nuttall used to harass the shit out of Graham Nuttall, but he was getting money for Old Rope, the fucking spoofer. And mad shit. We were doing mad shit. I won't say weird. I'll just say I was doing mad shit with a character. And I'm not going to say her name, actually. I was going to, but I'm not now. But it was a woman. And this other lad had one. He was mad for it as well. And so basically, it was like that's totally toxic behaviour, I suppose. But I invented, me and this other friend, internet trolling. And the reason I bring it up is because I still know that other lad, right? And again, I just don't say people's names or whatever, because they get this tick with you. So, what am I saying here? The reason I bring it up is because that other lad recently said to me, he sent me a text, he was like, look, I didn't want to send you this text. In fact, I'm going to fucking read it, right? Right. He said, it's been on my mind for months and it's none of my business. Every time I'm about to tell you I change my mind, I think Wicklow B is spamming you. And Wicklow B is a person who I'm pretty sure watches the podcast and comments on the podcast. And the other day I was chatting to him, I was like, well, why do you think that? And he was just like, because, like, I don't know, just there's something about their comments. I just think they're egging you on or something. Like, it's just someone totally made up egging you on. And I was like, oh, right, I never would have thought that. And, I mean, I suppose, and he was like, does that not drive you mad? Or would that not piss you off or something? Doesn't bother you? I was like, well, no, what do you mean? And he was like, if someone's just, like, egging you on or taking the piss, going, oh yeah, well done, you've just, and they're fucking totally, it's disingenuous or whatever. I just be like, well, I don't, it's the internet, man. I don't really give a fuck. And he was like, oh right, Jesus. And and then, so I suppose, and I just thought it was funny that person, because we were the inventors of trolling, internet trolling. But so I suppose then the question is, Wicklow B, are you out there? Are you a bot? What's happening? That someone has made that accusation, they've thrown down the gauntlet, that you're not even a real person, or you are a real person, but you're just someone taking the piss out of me. And then it occurred to me, maybe it could be your man. He could be Wicklow B. Is it? You know who you are. Is it you? So, and then funnily enough, and he didn't say this in, like, I don't think he was trying to be an asshole or malicious way at all. He wasn't. But he was like, what? He was sort of like, why do you do the podcast? And I was like, he was like, because, like, you know, the only people who watch it, and he's like, and I watch it, but the only people who watch it are the people who are subscribed to you. It's probably your mates and all. And I don't think that's true, actually, because I don't think, you know, my mates, definitely my close circle of friends, don't really watch it, I don't think. But and like I said, he wasn't trying to be whatever about it, and I was just like, yeah, I just do it. I don't really, it doesn't bother me, you know what I mean? And I try not to think about that part of it too much, but then I did think about it, you know, and it sort of got in on me a little bit. I was like, you know, maybe he's right, mate. And he wasn't trying to be like, you know, you're wasting your fucking time, mate. But I think he was, I don't know, but he was just like, you know, because it's not, it's sort of stalled a bit, I think was the point he was making. I was like, yeah. And I did start thinking about it. But then, like, the other day I dropped my young lad off at school, and I was obviously feeling a bit weird or something anyway, but I dropped him off to school, and he goes to school in opposite the Little in Greystown stairs, so whatever that's fucking called. And I was going to work. No, I had to go over and meet my young lad's granny and help her out with something. So I went, dropped him off, and I was going up the road, which would bring you up to fucking... go away. No. I dropped him off, and I was going up the road where Waverley and Seagreen and all those new fancy estates are. And then you go, there's a even newer estate you have to go through to get towards Delgany. And I pretty much started crying in the car, right? And I was just so overwhelmed because I was like I was looking at all these houses, and I was just like getting every car that passed me, it seemed like was a fucking Land Rover or some big Mercedes. And like, I understand that those, whatever, I've made probably poor choices in my life. I probably I can probably be irresponsible with my voices and or money by default, and but I do maintain I work pretty hard, and I even have like a good job and stuff like that, and I look after people that I feel not that I feel obliged to, but I look after the people I look after to the best of my ability, and I suppose I just felt like that there was a club, and I know I'm in a really affluent area, right? But it just felt like there was this, like a club, like this elite class, I suppose, that I wasn't a part of, because these people all lived in these really nice houses and had really nice fucking cars, and I'm going like, what the fuck do they do to make for a living? Like, how much do they earn a year? Like, do they earn 150 grand a year? How do you get a 600,000-700,000 euro house? And like, it's not, and when you say that, even just like, they're just sort of pretty much normal gaffs. They're nice gaffs, like, but they're not. It's a big estate in just, you know, in Greystones there, and I just was like, so overwhelmed, like I said, and I just felt like, what am I, you know, what the fuck am I gonna do, like, a little bit, and like I said, it hit me hard, and I was really upset about it and really overwhelmed about it. And I suppose, to answer that previous question, that's why I do the podcast, because because I feel like, not because I think it's going to get me to a place where I can have a 600,000 or 700,000 euro house. It's something more spiritual or creative, or creation driven thing, and where it's like, well, I feel like I'm good at this to a degree. I know I'm only talking shit on my couch in my mum's house and all, or in a shed outside my mum's house, but I feel like that I'm good at talking guff, if that's even a thing. But and I feel like I don't want to just feel like all I do is work hard in work, like both professionally and from a family point of view, like looking after my young lad. I work hard at those things, and I put a great deal of my time into those things, and I don't necessarily have a lot to show for it, but I have a great relationship with my young lad, actually, and that's more worth, that's priceless, shall we say. But so on a materialistic level, and that stuff matters, because, wealth is knowledge, wealth is power, blah, blah, blah. And when you're stressed about money the whole time, it's hard then to concentrate on your own personal endeavours, like stuff like this. And I'd love to be making more music and stuff like that. But the point I'm trying to fucking make, I suppose, is that this is something tangible to me, and it makes me feel good, I suppose, and maybe that's as important as having a big, nice house and, a good car. Listen, I might have been totally rambling at times there, and we'll try to edit it as best I can, but I've actually enjoyed myself. So that's why I do it. Thanks very much. Big up your bad selves. Peace and love.
Take another photograph and document a life that's right. And ways consist of simple things, the days of black and white. And faces from a humble past